Hanny Time. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Hannegriff.
And we welcome you into Hanny Time 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, a very happy Mario Jerez. Pels win their game last night against the Bulls, and Taylor Sharp was just naturally happy all the time. Thank you for being with us. Chris Ross-Voglu in about 15 minutes from Boot Crew Media. We'll talk about the MASH unit that is what's left of the Saints. And Ali Cosell at the bottom of the hour from the Bird Right. So we'll be talking Pels with him. Pels are over 500 by 3 games. Does that sound like a big deal? Hadn't happened in 4 years. So it's kind of a big deal. Time flies, right, Mario, when you're rebuilding. Let me just use a real polite word because Pels looked pretty good last night. They're trying as we speak to decide if they're going to play Cleveland and Buffalo in the snow. They're expecting 6 feet of snow. 6 feet of snow. Which brings up the obvious joke, which is what about the players that aren't 6 feet tall? Are they going to be under the snow? We were talking before the show started. There was a game about 9 years ago, between the Eagles and the Lions in Philly. A little bit later in the year than this, and it was there it is. If you're watching along on YouTube, you see they played in the most snow that I've ever seen in my life. There was so much snow in that game that they didn't even attempt in the first half any try for placement. Okay, they literally could not find any place on the ground to place the ball to kick it. And the NFL, I believe, outlawed the snowplows after the Patriots fiasco back in the 80s when they sent the snowplow out to clear some room for, I think it was John Smith was kicking, and the NFL said, okay, you can't do that anymore. So they just left the snow on the field in Philly that day. And you know how some things stay with you? Well, the first half ends 8-0. So the entire gambling world piled in on the under for the second half, which was something like 14, maybe 13. And the game ended up breaking out into some scoring fest. It ended up, what did we decide? 34-20. They scored all those points in the second half because nobody could tackle anybody. There was literally 2 feet of snow on the ground. So expecting 6 feet of snow. Good luck to them. Wouldn't you like to be at that game? Not in the least bit. LSU basketball tonight. The Tigers take on UNO. Did not get to see the game live on Saturday against Arkansas State. They won it by 8. But I did go back and look at the highlights and then, taking a look at the box score. 3 players scored. 3. That's it. They scored 61 points between the 3 players scored. That was unusual. I thought that only 3 players scored. LSU's a 25-point favorite tonight. Matt McMahon has got, he's got some time here. He's got to work through continuity. When everybody assembles for the first time, we saw this with the football team, right? Weren't at their best in the first game, but they got a lot better as the season is going along. Hoping for the same thing for the basketball team. Not that this is a terrible start. They've won their first 2 games, but against obviously pretty light competition, and most of the schedule is light in the pre-conference. They're going on their island trip next week, and they got to play Wake Forest. But other than that, it's a pretty light schedule. And ordinarily, I hate light schedules in basketball. I think it's the one thing that you can do. The one sport where you can really pile it in there and take your lumps in November and December, and it pays off for you once conference play starts, and it really kicks in the postseason. For this year's LSU team, I'm fine with the light schedule. They were literally starting from scratch. So Tigers and UNO tonight at the PMAC. Put out a list of the players that are taking part in senior day for LSU football. This is really where I wanted to start before I got into a 2-minute thing on the snow. 17 players going to be honored for senior day, and I'm not just doing this to aggravate Gordy Rush because he hates senior day. I thought it was interesting. Shea Dixon put this out yesterday, and I wanted to comment on it. We trust Shea's opinion around here. He was talking about who's on the list, and who's not on the list. This gets a little bit more complicated than just your regular senior day stuff because of the COVID year. The COVID year is still in play for those that want to take an extra year. Compound that with the fact that LSU's had a couple of people that have had season-ending injuries, and to be on the list or not to be on the list. So I want to talk about who's on the list, and I definitely want to talk about who's not on the list for Senior Day on Saturday, because I think this is interesting. Among the guys that are on the list, Todd Harris, local product from right there in Plaquemine, is on the list. Harris was a starter at one point in his career, just never could seem to stay healthy. He was a good player, and just the injury bug really got him. Mike Jones is on the list to transfer from Clemson. When he got here, some people thought of him as a first-round pick. He has played, but the superstar status has never really taken hold. I still think Mike Jones got a future in football, but it never really came together for him here as much as some people thought it would. Jeray Jenkins is on the list. Well, Jeray Jenkins will always hold a little special place because he caught the last touchdown against Texas A&M last year. And that was an extremely satisfying victory for many, just because LSU was playing out the string, and A&M, kind of wanted that game, and LSU beat them anyway. And the irony of Max Johnson, who would end up, and the story. Colby Richardson's on the list. For a couple of weeks in August of this year, Colby Richardson was pretty much the talk of camp. It's like, hey, look, here's the guy from McNeese is starting to. Allie Gay is on this list. Nice piece today about his family being able to see him in Tiger Stadium for the first time. The first time I saw Allie Gay, I thought he was a first-round pick. Watching him in that game against Mississippi State, man, this guy's a monster. Hasn't panned out as well. I still think Allie Gay's got a future in professional football. It doesn't – sometimes there are guys, it doesn't work out exactly like you think, and they go on to the NFL – and they go on to long careers. The best example I can give you is Al Woods. Al Woods was a very highly rated prospect, got to LSU, had a very nondescript career here for 4 years, and has been in the NFL for 12. He's with Seattle now. He's still an enormous man. Was watching a little bit of their game this weekend. It's like, who's that? Oh, yeah, that's Al Woods. He went to LSU. Jarek Bernard-Converse, what a year he has had, from having to shuffle back and forth at one point in the year between corner and safety, and then being right there to intercept the ball against Alabama. A huge play early in that ball game. Nick Storrs is on the list. I would have really liked to have seen him pitch more. The 2 innings I saw him pitch, I really liked. I would have liked to see him pitch more. Micah Baskerville's on the list. Good story. I know he had his off-the-field issues, but when Micah Baskerville played, generally Micah Baskerville played well, and he certainly played very well over the last month for LSU. Good for him. Cam Wire is on the list, another local prospect from Gonzales. I know that Cam Wire never became a superstar, but let me tell you what Cam Wire was. Cam Wire was dependable. Every time you need – look, this guy's hurt, put Cam Wire back in there. And I realize he never played at an all-SEC level or anything like that. But that guy was dependable. Joe Fouché is on the list, a transfer from Arkansas, Louisiana native. Would have liked to have seen him from the beginning of the season. I think it would have made a difference, but he certainly made some plays. Mekhi Gardner is on this list. That hit against Alabama, where they were trying to push the ball up, and they had to move it back because Gardner wiped that guy out. Jay Ward. And Jay Ward's played a lot of good football for LSU, has made some plays, and has been a very, very dependable guy. Those are the players that some of the notable players that are on the list for Senior Day on Saturday. Here's some of the ones that aren't, but could be. Sevyn Banks, transfer from Ohio State. The injury it never properly healed. He's listed as a super senior. He's probably got another year if he wants it. If he can get healthy and get back, I don't know what his future plans are, but he's got another year if he wants it. Tremont Shorts came in, was going to be a starter at the beginning of the season, was a starter at the beginning of camp, was a highly recruited out of the transfer portal, and just hasn't played as much. He's got another year. Would like to see him back. because players get better. He's got some talent, and I am never going to I'm almost never going to turn away upperclassmen offensive linemen. If you develop there and you can even give depth, come back, compete for a starting job, maybe. Who knows? If he comes back, terrific. Greg Brooks is not on this list, which leads to believe that he may be back next year. That cat's made some plays. He's been a terrific addition to the LSU secondary. Would love to see him back. Jay Bramblett, the punter, has another year if he wants it. He's not on the list. I'm not gonna turn down upperclassmen linemen who I know can play a little bit, and I'm certainly not going to turn down. Whenever you change specialists, you always, at least for me, it's always you hold your breath. Is the next guy going to be as good? And especially with LSU special team struggles early in the season, Jay Bramblett was pretty steady most of the year. A couple of bad kicks, but for the most part, he's been really good, and would love to see him back next year. John Emery. Again, you see flashes. I think it's almost like a permanent moniker behind it. It's like, well, John Emery, well, you see flashes. Maybe one more year, maybe next year will be the year he put it all together. I don't know. Maybe it's time for him to move on. I don't know. I would like to see him come back, just because I would like once and for all to see John Emery healthy, eligible, and in the game plan all at the same time for a year. Maybe not. And then the one I was going to leave for last is Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is not on the list. What Jaden Daniels is going to do has been a subject of a lot of debate. And for the record, let me say I don't know if he's going to come back or not. I will say that he's come so far, and the last game notwithstanding, but from the Jaden Daniels of the Florida State game to the Jaden Daniels of the Alabama game, there's nobody that's watched those games that cannot say Jaden Daniels did not greatly improve. Now, if you want to say he's not ready for the NFL, no argument there. Even the top prospects are not ready for the NFL. Look, Trevor Lawrence, okay, has had his moments, but has certainly had his struggles. As you can go down that list: Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Justin Fields. They've all had their moments, not the most. So if your argument is Jaden Daniels is not ready for the NFL right now, then no argument. There is no argument, because rookie quarterbacks are going to go through. Peyton Manning, for crying out loud, went through their lumps. It's what you think he can be 3 years from now. And I would give you the example of Jalen Hurts, who had some of the same accuracy issues and hold the ball issues that Jaden Daniels had when he was at Alabama. But they made it work. They tailored the offense around him, and the horizontal game worked for them. Then he went to Oklahoma, where 80% of the receivers were so wide open that a lot of the throws were easy. And when Jalen Hurts got to the NFL, it wasn't he wasn't ready to step right in and go. In his third year now, Jalen Hurts is, if there still was a Pro Bowl quarterback, he's in the MVP discussion. Is Jaden Daniels going to be that? I don't know. But the point being, if he does go, somebody's going to take a chance on him and see if he develops. He's got an enormous amount of talent. If you're saying, is he ready? Of course not. But the chances are, even with the most polish you can get at the college level, very few of them are ready to go right at the beginning. Joe Burrow took his lumps. I brought up Manning. You can go back and look. John Elway's rookie year was a mess. Okay, so the argument can't be that, well, he's not ready to play as a rookie. No, of course not. Almost none of them are. So we'll see what Jaden Daniels decides. I would love to see him. Come back. Why? Because if you got a good football player, you'd like to keep him as long as you can. And if he goes pro, you wish him the best. Senior Day at LSU coming up this week. We'll take a break. Chris Rosvoglu when we return here. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny time.
The Acura and Infinity line has undergone a remodel here just in the last couple of years. The remodel started in 2021 with the TLX and the TLX Type S. 2022, it was the MDX's turn, the RDX as well. And now for 2023, the Integra. It is back, the turbocharged V6, the massaging seats, the Type S Advance, and for those of us that have been shopping at Acura and Infinity for many years, you know that you're going to get transparency in pricing. You're going to get that little touch from what is a family-owned and operated business. They're going to treat you the same way. Certified pre-owned lot means that you're going to have vehicles that are up to code with all of the extras. So stop by and do what we've done at my home, and that is buy your vehicles from Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
Professional golfers John Peterson and JJ Colleen answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studios podcast for the people. Download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards.
Matt Moscona invited you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Ryan Clark, Mike Triplett, our Fantasy Blitz, Paul Nolan with picks. Join us, AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com. Join us now from Boot Crew Media covering the Saints, Chris Rosvoglu. Chris, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
All right. Let's talk about what's left. It feels like if you were holding on to some hopes on this season that they kind of came crashing down in Pittsburgh. I know that they're trying to hold this together and trying to keep a positive attitude, but it's pretty bleak. So I would ask for you what the next step is for New Orleans as far as trying to salvage something and just have something positive come out of what's left of this season.
Yeah, I think for starters is seeing what the energy looks like this Sunday against the Rams and for the rest of the season, because I think the Steelers game was the first time over the last couple weeks that the Saints' energy just looked really low. And I don't know if that's maybe it's just, they feel beat down with all the injuries, or is it just the message from the head coach isn't getting through to the players? If it's the latter, then it's going to be really interesting to see how the last 7 games of this season kind of unfold. But that's one thing I'm going to monitor. The other aspect I'm going to monitor is just kind of seeing the growth of certain players. Alontae Taylor, how does he kind of develop? I thought he had a rough showing against the Steelers, but it's been mostly positive for the rookie cornerback. How does Chris Olave play down the stretch? Can he kind of cement his status as Offensive Rookie of the Year? Trevor Penning's kind of working his way up through that foot injury, and he gets on the field and looks anything close to what a franchise left tackle might look like. That would be a lone positive in what has been a pretty rough season. So I'm looking at things like that. I'm looking at Peyton Turner's development. But most importantly, I want to see the Saints kind of finish this season with heart. And they'll have plenty of opportunities to do so, but the next 3 games are going to be fascinating. Rams, at the 49ers, at the Buccaneers. Those aren't going to be easy games by any means. So while I do feel like at this point it just sounds kind of redundant to be like, well, the division's bad, they have a chance, I just think you're kind of looking for some small wins here and there and seeing if this coaching staff does enough to warrant another year.
We've well, let me go there. I was going to ask about the offensive line, but you said this coaching staff get another year. I addressed this earlier in the week. This is my thought on it, is that Gail Benson will do what her advisors tell her to do. I thought that the Stan Van Gundy hire and fire was largely motivated by David Griffin, who she put in charge of the basketball operations. Well, over on the football side, that's Mickey Loomis and Dennis Laucha. Laucha's over everything, actually. So to me, Dennis Allen's fate does not necessarily lie with Gail Benson. It more lies with Loomis and Laucha. If they go in and tell Gail Benson that the change needs to be made, my guess is that she will follow their advice. And if they go in and tell her that they want to stay with Dennis Allen for another year, she'll follow that too. Is that your read, or do you feel like Gail Benson's going to be way more involved in that?
No, I think that's the correct read. I think, even think about the way Dennis Allen was hired. I'm not saying that Gail Benson didn't play any role in it, but a lot of people were vouching for Dennis Allen. Sean Payton said they have a potential head coach in the building, and obviously she respected Sean's advice. And the way the Saints operate, I think you're absolutely correct on that. And to kind of further on that point, I think how they finish the season is going to determine everything, because if the Saints just finish this year with 4 wins or even just 5 wins, I think there's a very legitimate chance that they make a change in the offseason. Now, if they finish somewhat strong and they go, with a 7-10 record or somehow even 8-9, I think Dennis Allen would buy himself another year, and the Saints would say, okay, look, we were really injured. Give him another offseason. Let's see what happens. But, I think of last season. They started off 5-2. Then they had a 5-game losing streak, and then Sean Payton found a way to go 4-1 down the stretch despite all the injuries. You finish 9-8. This is going to be Dennis Allen's chance now to kind of show, does he have anything down the stretch when things are against him, the cards aren't stacked in his favor. So I'm really curious to see it, but I do agree. I don't think Gail Benson's going to be the one that's just calling the shot here saying, okay, we've seen enough of Dennis. I think Mickey Loomis will have an idea. I'm sure Jeff Ireland and the rest of the guys in the front office will have a good idea, and I think it'll be really fascinating to see how this all plays out.
Chris, do you think he's the right guy? You personally? You cover the team. Do you think he's the right guy?
I mean, this is what I'll say about Dennis Allen. I think right now, in terms of what they look like, I don't think he is the right guy, because he was brought in to kind of keep the ship moving. And I think the Saints are about to enter an interesting time where I don't think the Saints should just be blowing this thing up and going for a full rebuild. I think that's premature, because they do have a lot of talent on this roster. But I think the Saints kind of need a retool, and I think they need to adjust certain things that they do. For example, I think their defensive line and their ideologies there, I think they need an overhaul. I think they're so dependent on these, built defensive ends, almost look like power forwards, as compared to getting some speed rushers in and kind of mixing things up. And I look at the defense, it's one thing if the offense struggles, no Sean Payton, no Drew Brees, but the defense was supposed to be good this year. And I think a lot of the personnel changes they made, Dennis Allen thought they could get away with, like trading Gardner Johnson and plugging in Bradley Roby in the slot, like letting Marcus Williams walk and bringing in Marcus May and Tyrann Matthew. So when all those moves on his side of the ball don't work out, I start to question whether he is the right guy, because I think that the Saints are entering a period where there's going to be some rough seasons, and they got to kind of figure out what they're going to be as they reshape the roster. That's not what he was brought in for. He was brought in to kind of keep this ship moving and build off what Sean Payton did, and right now they haven't done that. So personally, I've seen a lot more bad than I've seen good, in my opinion, and that's why I'm a little hesitant about whether or not he does get a second year.
All right, let's talk about the here and now. The Saints' running game is non-existent at this point, mostly because their offensive line is in shambles. So what does that look like this Sunday against the Rams?
Yeah, this is going to be fascinating to see. I mean, the one good thing is Cesar Ruiz has been the perfect model of good health. Played all of last season. He's on pace to play this season. I don't want to jinx the guy, but he's been very healthy this whole year. So you feel good about what you got in Ruiz. You feel good that Ramczyk will find a way to play. I know with Ramczyk, it's always been kind of a rest period on Wednesdays. This Wednesday was an illness. I'd imagine he'll be good by Sunday. So at least the right side of the line will be intact. The question is for the Saints, how do you go against Aaron Donald in that interior over there, not having Eric McCoy? As of now, it seems unlikely that Andres Pete plays, so you could lose out Pete and McCoy there. And as for James Hurst, we'll see. Concussion's obviously not ideal. If he doesn't play, then I really am going to start to question how do you readjust it, because Trevor Penning's not expected to play this weekend, so you're not going to have him as that kind of backup option at left tackle. So the Saints will probably have to make a move, but I would expect Lewis Kidd to play. I would expect the Saints to get Josh Andrews in there at center if he's ready to go. If not, they may have to throw in Ruiz at center and use Throckmorton at right guard. So we're going to have to wait to see how kind of Friday's injury report shapes up. But as of now, I'd expect the Saints to be without at least two starters on the offensive line.
Can't let you go without a quarterback question. Jameis Winston spoke publicly last week, said, listen, I'm healthy enough to play, but I'm not 100% healthy. That led to, well, I don't know if that led to, but the decision came down from Dennis Allen yesterday. They're sticking with Andy Dalton. Not sure what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, I think at this point, the only reason I think you stick with Andy Dalton is if you really think Jameis Winston isn't healthy enough to protect himself. And, with a backup offensive line going up against Aaron Donald, if Jameis isn't able to move because of that foot injury and the back injury, then I think this is the best option in terms of, okay, you don't want to kind of do even more damage to Jameis' situation. But if he is healthy enough to play and he can protect himself, then I just find it odd, because the whole point of playing Andy Dalton was to manage these games and move the ball. And at first I thought he actually did it really well. The Seahawks game, the Raiders game, even the Bengals game that they lost, I thought the Saints moved the chains pretty effectively. But over the last 3 weeks, whether it's the game against the Cardinals on Thursday night or the showing against the Ravens or even this past weekend against the Steelers, they didn't score a single point in the second half. I just think that the quarterback situation has kind of run its course in terms of playing that game-managing style offense. That style offense works well if the Saints defense is opportunistic and forcing turnovers, but they're not really doing that right now. So it kind of just seems like a flat offense. My guess would be, and we'll see what happens if this changes, but the Saints have the bye week coming up in 3 weeks. Do you give Jameis Winston another 2 weeks off to kind of rest, give him the bye week, and then you bring him back out for December 18th against the Falcons? I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens.
Chris Rosvoglu from Boot Crew Media, we appreciate your time as always. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
All right, Chris Rosvoglu, his thoughts on the Saints. Again, I know that I know that the idea is that you always look to the owner or the general manager when it comes to a coaching change. And sometimes the owner will change the general manager and the coach. I would tell you that Dennis Laucha has as much influence over the New Orleans Saints and New Orleans Pelicans as anybody. He's a low-profile guy, okay? He's not out in public a lot, but he is the team president. Gail Benson said, when I pass, it will be Dennis Laucha's job to transition from me to whoever the new owners of the Saints and the Pelicans are, and this amount of money's got to go to all of these causes, and you got to make sure the team stay there. And basically, he has all the power. Okay. So whatever, again, I know he's not somebody that puts himself in front of a microphone very often. He's not somebody that it's a household name. Everybody knows Mickey Loomis or David Griffin, but he is the power broker in that building. Okay. So if he decides that he wants to go, or he wants Allen to go, or wants Allen to stay, he's going to have enormous influence on that. I think he's the guy you need to watch, not so much the owner, a little bit the general manager. Well, probably a lot the general manager. But if you ask me, who's going to make the call on whether Dennis Allen is back or not next year, the final decision is going to be made. I think it's going to be Dennis Laucha. We'll take the break, and we'll be back with Ali Cosell from the Bird Rights. We're talking Pelicans when we come back. The mood will improve around here, right? The Pelicans are doing better than the Saints. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
If you're a business owner having problems with staffing, you are not alone. It's a problem right now. It's time-consuming. It's frustrating between the interviews, the background checks, all of the payroll expenses, the screenings, the things that you have to do. Well, Tiger Labor and Staffing is here to take a lot of this off of your plate. Right now, they can take care of all of these things for you, the screening, the training, the payroll, all of your employment expenses, so you can get back to work, and you won't go through the frustration of having undone interviews where people don't show up. That's going to be a thing of the past, because Tiger Labor and Staffing handles the interview processing, and they handle the onboarding. So if you need somebody for a day, a week, or a month, you can control your labor expenses, you increase your flexibility. Here as we get into the holiday season, if you need seasonal employees, this is perfect for that, and you lower your employment risk with a temp to hire option. It's only 60 days. That's the lowest in the industry. If you're looking for a job, they welcome skilled and unskilled labor at Tiger Labor and Staffing. They'll match you with a job that fits and get you a quick turnaround on your pay. Tiger Labor and Staffing. Success begins with the eye of the tiger. Go to tigerlabor.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $11,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 72 months on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
Le posso offrire un caffè? Le posso offrire un caffè? Andiamo insieme da me, non c'è.
Join me, Jimmy Otten, handyman, for the Thursday edition of Game Time. We're live at Jolie Pearl. Oh, man, have you seen it? The elves have landed. Oh, it's like Christmas at Jolie Pearl. Ho, ho, Hanny! On 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannigreth on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Pelicans win last night over the Bulls, 124-110, moved to 9-6 on the season. Gave you this stat at the beginning. Joe Myers had this stat last night. I was watching. This was under 2 minutes to go in the game. By the way, Myers and Daniels are fantastic. I love listening to those guys. But he gave out the stat at the end of the game that the Pelicans hadn't been 3 games over 500 in almost 4 years. I think it's 4 years like Saturday. And we bring in Ali Cosell from the Bird Rights. Ali, I got to be honest with you. As soon as I heard that stat, I thought about you. I'm like, my man Ali has sat through a lot of bad basketball, man. So I'm sure you're happy today, right?
Yeah, we have, and we got a good laugh. We heard that stat before the game. They've got a statistician who comes up with these crazy stuff, and when we heard that, we couldn't believe it, right? Because that's the only team that hasn't, right? Not even the Kings have been over 3 games over 500 in 303 games, right? So 4 years, crazy. But finally, it's been broken.
I guess the idea is that probably teams like the Kings – somewhere in that stretch snuck in a winning streak at the beginning of the season. The Pelicans have begun in such a hole for every season, in recent memory that I was like, yeah, okay, they're put together certainly 3-game win streaks during this time, but they started out so far down that when we looked at this schedule, it's like, look, just get me through the first 17 without getting my head ripped off, and I feel okay about where they're going.
Exactly. We all know it. Anybody that follows this team knows that they just get off the bad starts. I think in the last 10 years, in the first 10 games, they've only had one above 500 season where I think we're 6-4, right? So that's nothing even to brag about. So when you start in that hole, of course, you're going to run into a streak like that, right? But yeah, this team, I'll tell you what, we thought they were different, right? We looked at it in the preseason based on what we saw last year going into the season, and everything just pointed up. So honestly, this isn't as much of a surprise as I think maybe some others nationally think, right? I mean, we know they had a difficult schedule to start the season, so everybody thought, well, if they just get through at 500 or so, through the most difficult part of their schedule for all season, then they'll be fine. But guess what? I think they're doing better than that.
I thought last night's win was good, but I liked the win against Memphis a lot better. I kind of thought it was a where are you game, 15 games or so into the season. The Grizzlies had John Morant on the court. The Pelicans did not have Zion Williamson on the court. And New Orleans came out with the win. I thought it was one of those kind of early season litmus tests with team in your division. You're going to see them 4 times on the season. Where are you? And it turned out the Pelicans stacked up pretty well.
Yeah, coming into that game against Memphis, the Pelicans had lost 3 straight where I think they lost by a combined 60 points. So Memphis had kind of owned them of late. And look, they finished second in the Western Conference last year. So you're right, absolutely a litmus test for this team. And they punched back. I'll tell you what, Memphis, they play tough. They play hard, right? But New Orleans did that, and then they also executed better. So honestly, I felt like I watched a better team even though Zion wasn't out there. Because Jose Alvarado, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Dyson Daniels, these guys all just played just as tough, if not tougher, than Memphis Grizzlies. And that's what's kind of been missing from all these Pelicans teams from yesteryear.
Let's talk about Trey Murphy. He had a monster game last night, hit 5 threes, had his first career double-double. They had some fun with that stat as well. Ali, he in his second season, and by the way, was moved a little bit when he talked in the postgame about losing his friend. Trey Murphy is from, played collegiately at the University of Virginia. But his game, has come along so far, so fast. when Zion comes back, are we looking at even more minutes for Trey Murphy? Just be off the bench?
I think you have to play more. I mean, he's their best floor spacer, and you saw a great example of it last night. He had, I think, one three-pointer that was from, just off the logo, right, from 32, 33 feet away. No hesitation, nothing but net. I mean, that's his range. That's what he practices, did all summer in preseason. We saw it. And so he's capable of that. And, yeah, I don't know how you're going to make, if you're Willie Green, figure out all the playing time that's necessary for these guys. Because, honestly, there's like 10 guys that should see about 25 minutes a game, I feel like. But, Trey, you've got to have him out there. Even though Brandon Ingram's off to an incredible start from shooting from three-point range, he's not, your typical volume three-point shooter, but Trey is. And you need a guy like that out there for Zion. So he's not getting double-teamed every time. And if he is, well, he's going to pass it to Trey, and boom, you're going to lose out on 3 points on that possession.
One of the other guys that's vying for more playing time is Dyson Daniels, and we've seen this in the last couple of games. Look, the point totals are not huge, but everything else in the game is there. We called him Herb Jones Light. I've heard somebody else say, I don't know who coined that at the beginning, but that's what we're going with for now. So you tell me where Dyson Daniels fits in and the development of his game. He's a puppy. He's 15 games into his rookie season, and already he's making an impact.
That's the most incredible thing. He's 19 years old, but yet he understands how to play this game, kind of like Herb Jones does. But, of course, Herb's, 5 years older.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was actual rookie last year, guess what? He already had 4 years of college basketball. Not Dyson. He went, everybody knows he came from Australia, spent 1 year with the G League Ignite, and that's all really the professional experience he's got. But I'll tell you what, he rebounds as well as Josh Hart. He plays defense, honestly, to me, as well as Herb Jones. I mean, he had a block on John Morant. He blocked Zach LaVine last night at the rim. He does all those winning plays. He seems to make the right reads on what to do, where to put himself in position every single time. I mean, he can play the 5. Against Memphis, he's out there boxing out Brandon Clark, who's a great rebounder. Didn't even let him touch the ball. So he's doing all the things that you need, right? You need players like that when you've got Brandon Ingram, C.J. McCollum, Zion Williamson. So hats off, honestly, the Pelicans front office. They identified what they needed, and they actually nabbed all those perfect guys to surround them with those top scorers.
All right. We don't spotlight games in the month of November, December until Christmas time with the NBA very often, but I got to be honest with you. I can't wait to see the game tomorrow night. Boston Celtics had the best record in the NBA. The Boston Celtics were right on the cusp of a championship last year, and they're coming to the Smoothie King tomorrow night. If Memphis was a litmus test, and this is the advanced litmus test, see where you are against the NBA's absolute best. How do you see the matchup between the Pels and the Celtics tomorrow night?
Oh, it's going to be fun. I mean, Boston's entering, I think, on an 8-game winning streak. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they've never played better as a pair. I thought their run last year and deep in the postseason really helped them, refine their games, but also Jaylen Brown, he just looks much bigger. And honestly, Jason Tatum, he's one of the top 3, maybe 5 players in the league for me. He can do anything, right, on both ends of the court. So these two guys are what I think everybody expected to see out of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, injuries have marred that for the Clippers, but Boston Celtics, they have the top 2 tandem, I think, in the league. So, yeah, it's going to be a big test for Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, all the wings. They're going to be tasked with trying to stop those guys and score against them.
Let me ask a really dumb question. You can't really play Herb Jones and Dyson Daniels in the same lineup for any amount of time, can you? Or can you?
Well, I think you can, right? If you've just got 2 of CJ, Brandon, Zion, right, 2 legitimate scorers, maybe even throw Jonas into the mix, I think you can absolutely get away with it. Dyson and Herb, even though they're not prolific three-point shooters, they're not afraid to take that shot, right? Every time they're open, they're shooting it or they're making a drive and then, of course, creating something. So I think they're not your typical corner guys like we've seen in the past, like, say, Alonzo G, Dante Cunningham. There's so much more than that. So I think you could get away with it, yes.
Well, and I asked because these are guys that are built to guard guys like Tatum and Brown. They're long wings. They're athletic wings. They're very good defensive players. Neither of them are prolific scorers. The reason I asked is can you get away? Can you score enough with both of them on the floor at the same time? But if you're playing a team like the Celtics with Tatum and Brown, 2 of the most prolific wings in the league, you put these 2 guys on them, and you got a fighting chance.
Right, and you've got to think Willie Green's going to be thinking that, especially if they're using Herb on Jason Tatum, and now suddenly Jaylen Brown's going off. And even though I think Brandon's improved his defense isn't going to be nowhere near, I think, to really slow down Jaylen Brown. So, yeah, go for a Najee Marshall or Dyson Daniels out there. Maybe even have Jose Alvarado spend some minutes on him, because I'll tell you what, he can play above his size. We've seen it. Not maybe consistently, but Pelicans have 4 guys that can throw on just about anybody in this league outside of centers.
Every time Alvarado comes in the game, you just like, God, he's got to just aggravate the daylights out of whoever he's guarding, man. That guy will get under your skin. Like I said yesterday, if he's on your team, you love the way he plays. If he's on the other team, you can't stand that guy. And happens to be on the New Orleans team, so I like him. Tell me about Zion and the foot and what his deal is for tomorrow night.
Yeah, in that Houston Rockets game, that win the Pelicans had earlier on this homestand, early in the fourth quarter, he twisted his ankle. And this is the second time he's kind of rolled his ankle in the game this season. It's not a big deal. They say at first they were calling it a sprain, but now it's more of a contusion, like a bruise. So there was even a chance he could have played yesterday, but he was ruled out earlier in the day. But there's a good chance I think we could see him tomorrow. And if not, then definitely I think by Monday against the Warriors.
Ollie Cosell, thebirdrights.com, covering the New Orleans Pelicans. Ollie, we always appreciate your insight. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. Should be a lot of fun down at the Blender.
God, absolutely will be. I mean, I'll tell you what, the fans, Charles, they've been turning out this year. So for Friday game against, as you mentioned, the Boston Celtics, yeah, I'm expecting a packed, loud house. It's going to be so much fun.
Great. Ollie, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Take care, guys. Thanks.
And we will take a break, come back with some of your questions out of the chat. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. Thanksgiving is next week. You're planning your holiday menu, or if you're planning your tailgating menu for the last LSU game, make it with Supreme Rice. So easy to pick it up. All of your AG food stores, all of your Rouses, all of your Walmarts, and your Winn-Dixies as well. Easy to pick it up, and you're going to be supporting our Louisiana farmers at the same time, because all of our Supreme Rice grown, milled, and processed down in Crowley, Louisiana since the 1930s. Rice dressing is a staple at our house for Thanksgiving. Wouldn't be a Thanksgiving day without it. We're going to use Supreme Rice. You might like the brown, the long grain, the medium grain, or the jasmine, which happens to be our favorite, but pick the one that you like when you cook with Supreme Rice. You're going to be stretching your food dollars, so if your tailgates are big, if your family is big, you're going to go a lot longer way with Supreme Rice. For more information and some unique recipes, if you're looking for some ideas, something different for Thanksgiving, go to the website at SupremeRice.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hanny Time, Hunt and Hill. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
My dad just really enjoyed his life, and he enjoyed smoking cigars and thought he was invincible. My stepdad quit smoking, and he really felt like he was in the clear. Sorry. I wish they would have been screened annually. It's not just you affect, it's your entire family.
For more information on Ochsner's free smoking cessation program and to see if you qualify for early lung screenings, visit ochsner.org/quit.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 60 months on new 2022 Ford F-150s. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Service Master Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact Service Master Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. Service Master Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111.
To the Prep Football Playoffs, and we get started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview, presented by the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic. Catholic High and Archbishop Rummel kick off at 7, immediately followed by the Lake Urgent Care Total Occupational Medicine Louisiana Prep Scoreboard Show on YouTube, Your View, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Annegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Myra, did you tell me that the game in Tiger Stadium, the forecast on Saturday night is to be the coldest in how long?
According to the Daily Reveille, in the last 20 years.
20. All right, I'm trying to search my memory of the coldest game that I can remember in the last 20 years. Certainly that thing with A&M last year wasn't pleasant, but it was more the rain than it was. It wasn't like, in the 20s. Right? What's the forecast? What's the temperature supposed to be?
Not that cold. I don't have the article pulled up, but
just cold. It's gonna be nasty. Okay.
A&M 19 was really cold. I remember that game.
A&M in 19. Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to sort through them in my head. Some of the colder games. The coldest game I ever covered at LSU was a baseball game in February when Long Beach State came in, 2003 or 2004. I don't remember what it was, but they insisted on playing the game, and the wind chill was 17 at first pitch. And to this day, if I see Mike Weathers, who was the head coach at Long Beach, who insisted on playing the game that day, I would probably not have anything positive to say to him at all. Tell you who I would have something positive to say was Matt Heath. Matt Heath was the catcher for LSU. He's a catcher. I think he plays some first base too. Anyway, he's a switch hitter. So as soon as the game starts, at 17 degrees, this is just going to be miserable, right? Well, of course it goes extra innings. And in the 11th inning, Matt Heath, God bless him, hit a home run to get us out of there. And it was like, you will never buy a beer in my presence. You are my hero. Mike Weathers, not so much. I bring all that up because we got a question in the chat about who I like tonight, which is a game between the Titans and the Packers. 20 degrees and 20-mile-an-hour winds tonight at Lambeau Field. So I'm taking that freight train of a running back and the points, but in Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill is back for Tennessee. So I would take the Titans in the points, also because they were just playing a lot better than Green Bay. But the under, 41 is the total. It's not just the weather, but these teams are the two slowest paced teams in the league. The Titans run a play every 31 seconds. Okay, that's the slowest in the league. The Packers are third to last. They run a play every 30 seconds. So the clock's going to run. That no matter what they say, man, come on. You're going to want to get out of there. Now, why is this a shaky prediction on the under? Why I'm not going to necessarily – I'm just going to throw that out there. Why? How we lead the show today. We said, okay, here's the most snow I've ever seen on a field. Detroit and Philadelphia, 8-0 at the half. They can't even attempt kicks. Take the under, right? What did the game end up? What did we say it was 34-20? So just because you got cold weather, even if it the wind is, it's going to be snow tonight. Possibility of snow. There was certainly snow in the MAC last night. You have that one. the under is always a screwy thing with the weather like this because of the turnovers. What if you get guys that slip down? You get a slip down on a key third down or even a key fourth down. What if you can't hold on to the ball? So Titans here is what I got. Take Derrick Henry and move on. 92 at Arkansas. Yeah, 92 at Arkansas. We actually referenced that game yesterday. It was a miserable game because it's LSU's worst season ever. Not, oh man, that was no. Statistically, their worst 2-9 in the modern era, and the players were hamming it up at the end of the game, trying to stay warm, but not at all concerned about winning or losing. It was one of Curley's teams, whatever, and that didn't go over well. No, that was bad. 97 LSU against Notre Dame. That was a miserable day. It was 24-6, I think, was the final in that game. LSU came back and beat the stew out of them in the Independence Bowl that year, but that day in Tiger Stadium was all Notre Dame. Hunting Hill is next. Thanks to everybody for participating. We'll be at Rufino's tomorrow. For Taylor and Mario, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. It's been Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
The live music starting tonight at Big Mike's in Denham Springs. Chris Allen on tonight. Tomorrow night it is the Chris LeBlanc Band. And Saturday, the late game with LSU and UAB. DJ Clarence will be providing the entertainment as you watch the game. And Big Mike's will be open on Thanksgiving Day. They open at 6 o'clock that night. Live music by Byron Bujold. And of course, you can get in there after the holiday. You hang out with your family and your friends. Go to Big Mike's and watch the game. Listen to some live music on Thanksgiving night. The high school football season in its second week. Denham Springs is up in North Louisiana, but the restaurant is still open late, so that you can get your meals after high school football if you're out and watching high school football, family friendly after the games. Happy hour drink specials for all day on Sunday for New Orleans Saints football, and you're going to need it. Big Mike's on Aspen. We're kind of a big deal.